Everything you've heard about Lea, that's her real life.
They stood side by side on the set of Glee, smiling, laughing, and harmonizing as if their bond stretched far beyond the camera. For millions of fans, Lea Michele and Naya Rivera embodied the perfect on-screen sisterhood, a pairing of fierce voices and unstoppable charisma. Entertainment outlets painted them as inseparable allies, two young women rising together under the bright lights of a global TV phenomenon. But behind those glittering smiles, something else was brewing. Rumors of tension trailed them from season to season. Interviews carried subtle contradictions, Lea praising professional discipline, while Naya admitted the atmosphere on set could feel toxic. Paparazzi photos captured moments of icy distance where warmth was expected. By 2014, whispers grew louder. Had the show's biggest stars turned into bitter rivals? Fans dissected every red carpet stance, every missing Instagram tag, searching for proof that the friendship was nothing more than Hollywood packaging. The illusion was powerful, but illusions always crack. So here lies the central question. Was the bond between Lea Michele and Naya Rivera ever genuine, or just another carefully crafted act in television's most watched musical drama? Next, we pull back the curtain on how Glee's machine turned co-stars into best friends for the cameras. When Glee premiered on Fox in May 2009, the cultural impact was immediate. The series offered a vibrant blend of high school drama and Broadway-level performances, and two of its standout voices quickly drew attention. Lea Michele as the ambitious Rachel Berry and Naya Rivera as the sharp-tongued cheerleader Santana Lopez. From the very beginning, the narrative machinery around the show sought to turn its ensemble into a family. And at the center of that PR campaign were Lea and Naya. Press tours highlighted their off-screen connection. Magazines placed them side by side on glossy pages, emphasizing their shared journey. A 2010 Entertainment Weekly cover featured the cast in matching costumes, with Lea and Naya positioned shoulder to shoulder, an editorial choice that signaled a partnership to readers. Stylists deliberately coordinated outfits for red carpet appearances, ensuring the duo looked like complementary halves of a brand rather than just individual actresses. Talk shows doubled down on this illusion. When Lea appeared on The Ellen DeGeneres Show in 2010, clips of Naya performing were often spliced in, reinforcing the idea that these two women represented Glee's rising power. Publicists booked joint interviews, where they laughed about long rehearsal days and praised the ensemble as a tight-knit family. For a young fan base craving idols, these orchestrated moments painted the cast as inseparable friends. The show's storyline amplified the illusion. By season 2 in 2010-2011, Santana and Rachel were written into more direct interaction. Musical numbers like Rumor Has It, Someone Like You, 2011, showcased both actresses in emotionally charged performances that felt personal. Fans read authenticity into those harmonies, believing they were watching not just characters but real-life bonds. Tumblr pages overflowed with GIFs captioned, "Besties Forever." Behind the scenes, Fox executives understood the value. Glee was more than a series. It was a pop culture juggernaut. By 2011, the cast had performed at the White House, sold out international tours, and reached the Billboard charts. Lea and Naya, often framed as foils on-screen but allies off-screen, were strategically promoted as symbols of female friendship. A 2011 Rolling Stone feature even described the ensemble as a new-age family that redefines stardom. That language wasn't accidental. It was marketing. Photo spreads carefully cemented the illusion. At the 2010 Teen Choice Awards, photographers captured Lea and Naya holding hands backstage. The image circulated widely with captions like, "True friendship shines through." For fans, it confirmed what the network wanted. Glee wasn't just entertainment, it was a community, and its stars were bonded by more than contracts. Yet, When you look closely, the signs of orchestration are undeniable. PR handlers made sure Lea and Naya walked the same carpets, answered joint questions, and appeared in promotional stills where body language told a carefully crafted story. Even moments of awkward silence in interviews were spun as inside jokes. By 2012, as Glee collected Golden Globe wins and continued to dominate social media, the narrative of Lea and Naya's friendship had solidified into fact. But what happens when a constructed image becomes so strong that it overshadows the individuals behind it? The more the show pushed the sisterhood narrative, the harder it became for either actress to step outside of it. Every joint performance, every red carpet smile, was consumed as evidence of a bond that fans wanted desperately to believe in. Illusion hardened into truth. The illusion of harmony began to fray as Glee moved into its third and fourth seasons. What had once looked like sisterhood now revealed subtle fractures, small at first, but consistent enough to catch the attention of industry watchers and fans alike. Money and credit lay at the heart of the first visible divide. By 2011, Lea Michele had established herself as the face of the series, often receiving lead solos and the lion's share of media attention. Reports circulated that her contracts included perks befitting a lead actress, while Naya, though increasingly central to the show's success, remained listed as supporting cast. A 2012 Hollywood Reporter piece noted that salary discrepancies between core members have created visible tension, though no names were officially confirmed. To insiders, the reference was obvious. Lea's prominence, reinforced by her Broadway pedigree, clashed with Naya's demand for equal recognition as Santana's popularity soared. Patterns of absence became another clue. Cast appearances, once group-oriented, began to fracture. During the 2012 upfronts in New York, sharp-eyed fans noticed that Lea and Naya were rarely photographed together. Seating charts at promotional events placed them at opposite ends of tables. What looked like logistical randomness was, to the invested fanbase, a deliberate distancing. By 2013, Tumblr threads cataloged instances where Naya was missing from group photos Lea shared, sparking the theory of an unspoken feud. The silence extended to social media. When Glee stars often tagged one another in celebratory posts, Lea conspicuously left Naya unmentioned. Even birthday messages, ubiquitous among the cast, were absent. In contrast, Naya occasionally posted cryptic notes about respect in the workplace and the exhaustion of long hours with no appreciation. Though never naming names, fans connected the dots. Divergent working styles magnified the tension. Lea, trained on Broadway, was known for her perfectionism, meticulous rehearsals, and insistence on multiple takes. Naya, with years of television experience, leaned on spontaneity and instinct. Crew members later described the atmosphere as clashing rhythms. In her 2016 memoir, Sorry Not Sorry, Naya Rivera admitted, "Lea and I were not the best of friends. We were both strong-willed, both competitive, and that doesn't always mix." This candid admission validated what fans had long suspected. The smiles on red carpets masked a difficult dynamic behind the scenes. By 2014, the whispers turned into headlines. During the filming of Season 5, reports of an on-set altercation surfaced. Tabloids claimed Naya had been cut from the finale after clashing with producers, with some suggesting Lea's influence played a role. Though Fox representatives denied the firing rumors, the story spread like wildfire. Us Weekly ran, with the headline, "Glee Set Drama, Naya Rivera at Odds with Lea Michele," April 2014. Even without official confirmation, the narrative of rivalry was cemented. The timing was significant. Glee was already struggling with declining ratings following the tragic death of Corey Monteith in 2013. The show's public image needed stability, but the alleged feud between two of its brightest stars only amplified perceptions of a cast unraveling. Fans who had once celebrated their friendship now dissected body language for signs of disdain. One viral Tumblr post compared a 2009 photo of Lea and Naya laughing together with a 2014 red carpet image where they stood back to back, the caption bluntly reading, "From besties to strangers." Financial disputes resurfaced as well. Reports suggested negotiations for cast salaries during Season 5 highlighted disparities, with Lea still considered a lead while Naya fought for parity. Though exact figures were never publicly released, the imbalance was a recurring topic in trade publications. It reinforced the perception that their professional rivalry was fueled by structural inequities. And yet, not everything was hostility. There were still moments where professionalism prevailed. Joint performances, ensemble interviews, staged smiles. But by then, the cracks were too visible to ignore. Fans no longer saw these moments as evidence of friendship, but as carefully rehearsed performances in themselves. What began as subtle differences, credits, seating charts, silence, had coalesced into a broader pattern. By the midpoint of Glee's run, the idea of Lea Michele and Naya Rivera as inseparable friends had shifted from belief to suspicion. Cracks were no longer rumors. The tensions that had simmered for years finally erupted into full view in 2014. Season 5 of Glee was already a fragile period. Ratings had declined. Morale had been shaken by Corey Monteith's sudden death in July 2013, and the series was struggling to sustain its cultural momentum. Against this backdrop, headlines began to scream about a feud that could no longer be dismissed as rumor. In April 2014, Us Weekly reported, Glee set drama, Naya Rivera at odds with Lea Michele. The article claimed Rivera had been removed from the finale after clashing with producers, with whispers that Lea's camp had influence over the decision. Though Fox quickly denied that Naya was fired, the story gained traction across outlets, from E! News to The Hollywood Reporter. The fact that it had even become public was damning enough. The tight-knit family narrative had collapsed. That same month, Page 6 ran a headline that cut through the PR fog. Glee feud explodes on set. The piece alleged a confrontation between the two actresses during shooting, with insiders claiming tempers had boiled over regarding on-set conduct. While accounts differed, some suggesting Lea stormed off set, others saying Naya challenged her directly, the details mattered less than the spectacle. For fans who had long suspected tension, it was confirmation. Social media poured gasoline on the fire. Naya's Instagram account briefly disappeared in April 2014, fueling speculation of turmoil. Fans interpreted the blackout as a protest against the toxic environment. Lea, meanwhile, maintained a polished front, posting cheerful updates from set. The contrast only reinforced perceptions. One actress voicing her frustration, another hiding behind carefully curated posts. The drama spilled into the fan base. Hashtags like Team Lea and Team Naya began trending, dividing audiences who had once celebrated both women equally. Tumblr threads cataloged every interaction, while Twitter debates grew venomous. For a show that prided itself on promoting unity and acceptance, the optics were catastrophic. The sisterhood illusion had not just cracked, it had shattered, in plain sight. What made the scandal so potent was the timing. Just a year earlier, in 2013, Glee had staged its emotional tribute episode, The Quarterback, in honor of Monteith. Cast members, including both Lea and Naya, had been visibly raw during filming. Audiences believed tragedy had brought them closer together. Yet less than a year later, the narrative had inverted. Grief gave way to open hostility. Naya's memoir, Sorry Not Sorry, 2016, later revisited the episode. She wrote candidly, "We weren't friends. We were co-workers. Sometimes that's just the way it is." She acknowledged clashes with Lea's working style, confirming what had once been whispered only in gossip columns. That blunt admission, coming 2 years after the height of the scandal, validated fan theories retroactively. The press feasted on the rivalry because it fit a larger Hollywood script. Two ambitious women, both talented and vocal, pitted against each other for dominance. It was the perfect tabloid storyline. Headlines painted their tension as catfight drama rather than structural issues of credit, power, and recognition. But, within the entertainment industry, the damage was tangible. Cast morale suffered, and producers were forced to publicly address rumors in ways that only drew more attention. The fallout became visible on screen. During Season 6, which aired in 2015, Santana's role was reduced, with Naya appearing in fewer episodes than in previous years. Though officially explained as a creative decision, fans interpreted it as the lasting scar of the Lea-Naya feud. The once celebrated duo of Rachel and Santana was now conspicuously fractured, even in scripted storylines. By then, the myth of their friendship had dissolved entirely. Interviews grew cautious. Castmates deflected questions. Lea offered polished remarks about everyone being like family, but the words rang hollow. Naya, more forthright, allowed hints of frustration to slip through. The media didn't have to work hard to frame the contrast. It was written on their faces, in their silences, in their absences. The scandal had achieved what years of speculation could not. It turned the illusion into undeniable spectacle. Fans no longer asked if Lea Michele and Naya Rivera were close. They debated how deep the animosity ran, and who bore more blame. The friendship narrative was dead. The mask shattered. In public, the public scandal left scars that extended far beyond the tabloid cycle. For both Lea Michele and Naya Rivera, the fallout reshaped not only their careers, but also the legacy of Glee itself. In the immediate aftermath of 2014's headlines, Fox and the show's producers scrambled to downplay the damage. Official statements framed the cast as professional and committed to finishing strong. Yet the adjustments on screen told another story. By Season 6, which aired in 2015, Naya's role as Santana was noticeably diminished. Once central to key plot lines, she appeared in only a handful of episodes. Fans, aware of the feud, interpreted the creative choices as punishment. A February 2015 Variety review noted bluntly, "The final season feels uneven, with certain beloved characters sidelined without clear reason." The subtext was obvious. For Lea Michele, the aftermath was more complicated. On one hand, she retained the show's spotlight and carried Rachel Berry into the series finale. On the other, her public image suffered. Where she was once celebrated as Glee's breakout star, she now carried the reputation of a divisive figure. Interviews promoting the final season leaned heavily on scripted optimism. Yet whispers persisted, and in an industry that thrives on perception, the cost was real. Naya, meanwhile, pivoted. In 2016, she released her memoir, Sorry Not Sorry, which became a New York Times bestseller. The book was not vindictive, but it was candid. "Lea and I were not the best of friends, and that's okay." That sentence, quoted across outlets, from People to Entertainment Tonight, reframed the feud as something more structural than personal. Two strong personalities clashing in a pressure cooker environment. The memoir allowed Naya to reclaim her narrative, earning praise for honesty. It also gave fans closure, confirming long-held suspicions without sensationalism. But the personal costs remained. Industry insiders whispered that the feud contributed to missed opportunities. Naya's candidness was admired by audiences, but producers wary of drama hesitated to cast her in lead projects. Lea, despite landing a lead role in Fox's Scream Queens in 2015, carried the weight of a reputation that would resurface years later when former colleagues accused her of creating a hostile environment on set. In that sense, the Lea-Naya saga foreshadowed a broader reckoning. The fandom, too, bore scars. Glee clubs around the world had once drawn inspiration from Rachel and Santana's dynamic. a rivalry that softened into respect, and occasionally, reluctant camaraderie. But after 2014, fans could no longer separate fiction from reality. Online forums filled with debates not about the show's storylines, but about the feud. A 2015 BuzzFeed think piece asked bluntly, "Why did we need their friendship to be real?" It reflected a growing media literacy. Audiences recognized how Hollywood packaged intimacy, and how quickly that packaging could unravel. When Glee ended in March 2015, the absence of reconciliation was palpable. The final episodes gave closure to Rachel Berry, Santana Lopez, and the ensemble, but the actress's dynamic was missing. Lea sang Rachel's last numbers with her usual precision. Naya delivered Santana's witty lines in limited scenes. But gone was the illusion of friendship. For longtime fans, the silence between them was as loud as any song. Tragedy later reframed everything. Naya Rivera's death in July 2020 shocked the world. Lea Michele posted a brief tribute on Instagram stories, a single photo with no caption. Fans debated the gesture's sincerity, but it underscored the irrevocable distance that had defined their relationship. For many, the absence of warmth in that moment was its own statement. Looking back, the feud became part of Glee's cultural footprint. It wasn't just a story of two actresses. It was a case study in how the machinery of fame creates and destroys public illusions. Their fractured relationship shaped how audiences consumed the series, how journalists reported on it, and how the entertainment industry grappled with the fallout. The show ended, the stars moved on, but the silence remained. The absence became a character. The feud between Lea Michele and Naya Rivera has long outlived Glee. Even after the series concluded in 2015, their fractured relationship became a lens through which audiences analyzed the larger culture of celebrity and entertainment. The so-called friendship, once promoted as proof of unity, ultimately revealed itself as a carefully engineered illusion. Its unraveling became a cultural artifact in its own right. Hollywood has always packaged intimacy. Studio systems in the 1940s paired actors for publicity dates. Pop stars of the 1990s were sold as inseparable squads. Glee simply updated the formula for the social media age. Lea and Naya were framed not just as colleagues but as confidants, a narrative fans consumed as eagerly as the show's songs. Their feud exposed the seams of that packaging. The sisterhood was never organic. It was a brand strategy. For audiences, the disillusionment sparked new literacy. Fans began asking sharper questions. How much of what we see is authentic? How often does PR craft friendships to sell a franchise? By 2016, think pieces in outlets like Vulture and The Atlantic were dissecting manufactured celebrity friendships, citing Lea and Naya as a prime example alongside other Hollywood duos. The idea that fans could tell the difference between organic bonds and PR fabrications became part of broader conversations about media manipulation. The legacy also carries a double edge. On one hand, viewers still cherish the artistry both actresses brought to the screen. Santana Lopez remains one of television's most groundbreaking queer characters. Rachel Berry's ambitious drive continues to inspire performers. Their impact on representation cannot be erased by off-screen conflict. But on the other hand, their fractured dynamic reshaped how Glee is remembered. What should have been celebrated as a story of cultural progress is now also remembered as a cautionary tale of toxic workplace dynamics and fractured trust. The tragedy of Naya Rivera's death in 2020 cemented this duality. While tributes poured in from castmates and fans worldwide, attention inevitably returned to her complicated relationship with Lea. The fact that one of Glee's brightest stars had spoken so candidly about on-set conflict made the silence afterward even heavier. It highlighted how unresolved tensions can become part of a legacy, not erased by time or even by death. The comparison to other Hollywood narratives is striking. Consider Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall of Sex and the City, whose fractured friendship similarly overshadowed a beloved franchise. Both cases show how the myth of female solidarity can be weaponized by marketing, and how its collapse exposes uncomfortable truths about power, pay, and creative control. Lea and Naya's story sits squarely within this lineage. Today, younger audiences discovering Glee on streaming platforms often encounter the feud alongside the episodes. TikTok explainers and YouTube documentaries frame their dynamic as inseparable from the show's history. For a new generation, the friendship is less a memory than a case study in Hollywood's manipulation of narrative. The bond once celebrated as authentic is now dissected as performance. Perhaps that is the most enduring legacy, not the illusion of friendship, but the audience's ability to see through it. Lea Michele and Naya Rivera's story reminds us that celebrity culture thrives on packaging intimacy, but it also shows that fans are not passive. They can question, interpret, and recognize the machinery at work. So the question remains, years later, when we see stars embracing on red carpets or praising one another in interviews, are we witnessing true connection, or just another Hollywood act? The story of Lea Michele and Naya Rivera forces us to look beyond the spotlight. For years, audiences were sold the image of a perfect friendship, two stars united by song, laughter, and shared success. Yet behind the cameras, cracks widened into open wounds, leaving behind a legacy as complex as it is unforgettable. So what do we make of it? Was this ever a true friendship, or simply a carefully choreographed illusion, crafted to sell a television empire? And more importantly, when we see Hollywood's next inseparable duo, will we believe the narrative or question what lies beneath? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Lea and Naya were ever real friends, or just co-workers, trapped in a PR story? Share your perspective in the comments. And don't forget, like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell for more untold Hollywood stories.